Everybody can unmute themselves. Round. I mean, that was big. My God.
Wow.
And being able to watch it all is just amazing.
Wow.
Wow. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Right on.
Hey, where's G at? Good job, G.
Thank you, brother, man.
Yes.
See
Thank
you,
you.
bro. Yeah, good job, brother.
Good job yourself, brother. Yes,
Yeah.
man. Thank you.
Damn, where you at, bro?
Very impressive, Gary. Very impressive.
Thank you so much.
Damn, Bridget, where you at, bro?
I mean, yeah, there you go.
Amazing.
I mean, total different appreciation for the flick, especially being able to express it and show it. Great. Brother Gary.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Wow. That was, I just wanted to I saw Oliver Sims. Wasn't he on the?
Yes, he is. He's in here. Oh, Sam's one of the producers of the film.
Okay, you're one of the producers, exactly.
Yeah, what's happening? I'm here.
Okay. Okay, are you hiding? Are you? I don't see your picture, but your
There
face.
you go.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Okay. You know, every time I see this film, there's something new. And as we spoke earlier, this is 49 years ago on this day, April the 21st. And so I just want to open it up. I mean, Gary, just if you know, how do you feel about seeing this and just your as an actor, what type of transitions did you go through, transformations did you go through to play the part of George Jackson?
Wow. This was an incredibly transformative film for me. Even during the filming process, there was at one point, I think Sam would remember this, we were filming in an actual prison in the ass crack of America.
Yeah.
Well, in Reno?
Nevada State
Yeah.
Prison. Yeah.
Yeah, and was it outside of Reno, right?
Yep.
Or in
Yep.
Reno. And at one point, we were shooting at death row, the cells that were on death row. And the cell door got locked. And I couldn't get out. No one could get me out. They kept on trying.
Yep.
And at some point during that process, I said, let's just keep working. I think the crew went to lunch and we came back, we kept on filming. And I just, I sort of centered myself with it, with the realization that this was, you know, this was that prison that, that had a lot of spiritual energy and not necessarily all good spiritual energy. I mean, spiritual energy, like a lot of souls were still trapped in those cells. And they had a lot of the guards that worked at the prison that they said, yeah, this is the prison that you walk out of, and at night, you know, there's no one in the cells, but the lights come on and things happen still in the you hear all these stories while you're working, and then the stuff happens the next day. And I sort of centered myself with it. I had been working with a spiritual guide to help me through some of the process, because I was going in deep with the role and really doing a lot of research and really trying to center myself with George and with his story and his struggle and his writing. But there was something that I couldn't, you know, I couldn't stay in the place that Sam and the crew and the production had so beautifully put up for me. It was a nice bed and breakfast, but I couldn't stay there because everything was just it was too beautiful, and I couldn't really stay where I wanted to be in George's world. So I kind of picked a really shitty motel or something to stay in, and just kind of, I had to do certain things at night to leave those energies behind back in the cell. Every time I left, I had to do certain ceremonies to kind of cleanse my spirit of the things that I was carrying with me. That was a transformative process. But even leaving Los Angeles and going up to the Bay Area to film the picture was huge for me, because for the over decades before that I've been working in Los Angeles, you know, you have a certain kind of crew and you have a certain kind of cast and you have certain kind of productions. But going up to work on this film in the Bay Area, which was a really multiracial crew, and it was blacks, it was whites, it was Asians, Hispanics, and for the first week, to be honest with you, I was kind of emotional about it. I was very emotional about it. It was just something that was hitting me very hard that I wasn't getting in Los Angeles. And I really fell deeply, deeply in love with the process, with the people that I was working with everyone being so driven to get the story right, being so professional, and having such fire in their youth. And it put something that I really needed at that time, because it's great, some of the work that I was doing in Los Angeles, but let's be honest, it was procedural stuff, you know. After a couple of years, you're starting to just come into work and just punch the clown and, you know, paint by numbers after a while. But this work was just enriching to me, and it was filling a void that I had long laid dormant for a while, because, you know, you just get into the rat race of things, and you forget about all of these men behind bars for a minute, because you're just trying to feed your family, you're just trying to do good, you're just trying to gain some notoriety, and you get into the game of things. And it pulled me back in. And I remembered working with Harry Belafonte and Jim Brown and the Sankofa organization and all of these things that had started to really guide my journey and start to inform me as an actor. So this was that project that I had been waiting for to do, because it brought me back to one, and to this image that people were getting more accustomed to, more familiar with on TV. And I was proud to do that, proud to win NAACP awards and things of that nature, and be this image that people would come up to in the street, go, I really appreciate seeing you on TV and things of that nature. But there was a whole other, there's all these stories that need to be told. And it's not the slave narrative, and it's not the sidekick. It's not the comedy all of the time. It doesn't have to be that. These stories, simply put, are not being told. Hollywood is afraid of these stories. This film was very difficult for Hollywood to accept. These days, they're making more films about the injustices of the prison system. We see Just Mercy, it's got some good play, but there's a lot of films that just deal with the same narrative that we've seen. They're very comfortable with that. So this film at this time was very pioneering. And I really commend Sam and Cinque for pushing and putting their whole world behind it, their whole reputation and their work behind this film to push it, to make it happen. It was very, very early on that. We didn't have any support in that way, you know. And I imagine they were thinking to have this guy on TV play the role could be really good. And by the way, I have to say that Darren's work is phenomenal. It's so good, man. You're so good. His work is just, and he's the thread, you know, that weaves it all together. He's the voice, and he's the conscience of it. and he's so in the moment in every scene. I just can't stop watching the guy work. It's fantastic. Such great,
Yes.
great work. And it was such a pleasure to work with. And he just opened my character up so much, because one thing I really wanted to get was George's laughter and his way that he has. And you could see it in his videos, and you see the pictures, and you can hear it in his voice. You know, he has a, you know, he's just a good kid, you know. And I didn't want it to come off like this just angry black man movie, you know. I wanted to put some of his real personality in there, and Darren's just, his work is just wow, fantastic. So thank you for that, D.
Man, right back.
You came, yeah, man.
I just want to say, I was so nervous to do this. Movie is a big
I'm
one.
sure.
And,
It
shit,
was.
that first scene that I shot with you, it was a scene where I had like a bigger chunk of dialogue, and my first take, I delivered it and I got through it and felt pretty good, but I was so nervous to do it. And you did this amazing thing that carried me through the whole rest of the shoot. You as soon as it was like cut, you jumped out of your seat. You're like, that guy's amazing, and you like ran around. So positive and supportive, and it was the best, because, you know, for me, the story is all about the relationship, the character between these two guys, and that was just a beautiful thing, and it was really you know, just so great to get to do that with you and with Sam and everybody. It was really like an acting.
I agree. Yeah. 100. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, it was I'm sorry, were you about to say something?
Please do elaborate. Please, I love want to hear from you guys, and that's what we're here for.
Part of the other transition or the transformation that I had to deal with was going back to Los Angeles to work after the film was completed. There was part of me that had to put the film someplace in my mind and not forget about it, but sort of file it away and go back to LA and continue my work, what I was doing, because I was coming up on the weekends to shoot the film.
Yeah.
And after the film was finished, I had to put that in a compartment and go back to Hollyweird, Hollywhack.
Right.
And at some point, things started to change. I'm not sure if they changed because of an impetus that I was helping to create with the construction of this film with you, Sam and Darren, or if it was just a naturally occurring thing, or if it was a reaction to people knowing that not only was I doing the film up in San Francisco, up in Oakland, but the subject matter of the film that I was doing. And I think it may have been a combination of them, but things started to change on the set, and the attitude started to change towards me. And it got tough. It got really tough. And
wow. I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, I really haven't spoken to many people about it, just my inner circle. But things changed drastically, and it was to be in it when you're in the forest and you're just watching it actually occur and happen. You're just taking it day by day, and the changes that happen, you just maneuver and you learn how to adapt. You know.
Yeah.
It
doesn't surprise me though. It doesn't surprise me because
no, honestly,
you know what I mean,
I would say it didn't. I wouldn't have surprised me either had I known, the types of, characters that I was working around. This is a very conservative atmosphere, and I hadn't known that until it was thrust upon me. And at the time they were very, very far right supporters politically, a lot of the production, and I hadn't realized that until it was thrust upon me. So it was some adjustments, and it took its toll eventually on me, where the pressure of things got too great, The film was one of the factors, and then there were there's just some other factors that were included in there. But I felt myself changing in the way that honestly, I was just enlightened to the point where I really had to, I could not be affected by all of this information that we have to put out there, that we have to continue to see that there's no changes being made, and then try to be vocal about it, but instead of getting support for it, we are ostracized, vilified, and it's a difficult situation. So for me, I kind of turned in on myself at some point, because I really couldn't find the support in Los Angeles. Not until many, many years later. I mean, I think Lawrence Fishburne called me many, many years later and was like, yo, we need to have a talk, and why don't you come over and we need to talk about this and that, because I worked on your show and I really understand what you may have gone through. And I didn't know that before. And I think that a lot of people were under the impression that when you're successful and everything seems to be going great on People magazine, that everything's just going great. But to be honest with you, there was some lines drawn, and I really just didn't know how to deal with it. And I didn't have any support system set up, I didn't have Harry Belafonte to call at the time. I didn't have people to go, yo, rally round, yo, this is what's going down. They just did this today and this happened, and I feel like my knees is getting cut off from under me. And, I was kind of just straggling out there on my own, and I really didn't know how to handle it in the best way. And that was one of the transitions or transformations, or that was one of the situations that I had dealt with. But I know that, and I'm really good with my intuition, and there's factual things that have happened as well that let me know that because of my choices artistically and because of my stances socially and politically, that I was clearly put in a certain place in their realm, and it was something to behold, and it's a good thing. It's like Malcolm says, you want things right out in the open. You don't want that gray area. And I certainly, I had the gray area for such a long time, and then things started to come out in the open, and I had to make certain decisions. And some of the things I handled well, and some of the things I just blundered and handled horribly. But nonetheless, I've survived it and learned from it. And part of my task is, telling other artists and poets and painters and musicians and, actors about that process, so that they don't get, so that they don't eat and know on themselves, because it's easy to do that. And because all of the roads would lead to that. You're not really going to see the support system. And it's important for us to continue to set up those support systems for artists, and let them know that there's educators, that there's other artists that have been through it, that there's artists that have been through it. It was much harder, where they were, getting blacklisted, and they were marching with Martin and getting completely ostracized, and the money would dry up, what then, who do you call on, So, and, being a Redbone brother, it's, when you try to talk to some brothers in Los Angeles, it's, they're drawing lines too. So you really have to recognize and really have your support team set up before you start making moves. I understand that films now that are getting some notoriety about political subject matters, about the prison system, about some of the civil rights era history, that they have been able to set up support systems so that they get the word out, that they get the film done, that they get it seen in theaters, that they get supported for it, and they're not just left alone, and that's a tremendously important thing when we're dealing with this, because you'll go to Sweden and France and even Germany, and you'll gain more support for the struggle of Black and brown peoples in America than you do from even your own Black community in America. You can go through the church community and they will be hands off on you with a lot of these issues. But you go to these places in Europe and foreign, and you can gain more support sometimes. And that's sort of disturbing, you know? But that's kind of always the way it is. And you just have to deal with that. And these are some of the things that I've learned in the journey.
Well, wow.
So I really appreciate you guys doing this. You have no idea how much this means to me and to my family and to this movement. This is huge. And to keep that, because film is forever. So this is what's up. What you're doing right now, it allows people to actually see the film again and to be interested in it, because they may have given it a once over before and decided that was too early. But now, as you're saying, because you've chosen the right dates, the numbers coincide, numerology has it, you're doing this, and this is huge. So this, you know, let's give it some breath, and we can still get the story told. This is what's up, and I really appreciate seeing it, because the same thing happened to me. What you just said, it's like I've seen something new every time I see it. You know.
Right. Same here. I just want to go back to the story when you were locked in the cell on my side, and I was like, "Oh shit! Actors locked in the cell, please. What are we gonna do?" I have to get you out of there, man. I was like, "Get out of there, man."
I know. I remember you. I remember you tripping for a minute, and I was like,
man.
It's okay. I'm good. Actually, I'm good. You know, I got my books in here.
Locked. It did not move that cell, but I understand what you're talking about, though. I felt the same energy. You know.
Yeah, and I said it, and I just got centered, and I was like, you know what? Let's keep rolling, man, because this is what it's about, and I'll be fine. You know, I know I'll get out here eventually.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah,
right now we need to get to work. And
it
was somewhere in, you know, in my sick part of my mind somewhere that was like, this is great, because now we can really, now we can really go method on the mom.
That's what's up. Yeah.
But no, it was a poignant moment for me, because it was heavy. It was super heavy. And the spiritual energy that I could feel, the Native American brothers and the Black brothers, and they were just like, yo, you know, get it right, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Straight up. They were, you know, there was some really strong energy in themselves, man. And woo. It was heavy.
Yeah.
Can we take a question from Triana? Triana, I think you have a question.
Hi, yeah, thank you.
Hi, Trina.
Hi. I was listening to you about you speaking about spirituality and everything in the cell. It was really interesting. I work in development and women's rights, and I get so angry. I think the older I get, the angrier I get in the pit of my stomach when I see gender inequality. Clearly, I'm not Black, but I think you guys, looking at this movie 50 years on, you must have that same sense of anger. You know, that nothing is really changing that much. And I personally feel that, you know, my work is, you know, trying to stop gender-based violence, trying to make women's voices heard. And like, I'm constantly looking for innovations we need to stop doing the same thing over and over. In development, we need to start find new ways of working. We're looking at behavior change. What do you think can be done to kind of heal this like very broken racist society that we have across the world at the moment? Because I just feel that you have human beings, nothing is impossible, and it seems very depressing a lot of the time, and there's a huge amount of racism in my own country, in Ireland at the moment also. But I think, you know, surely there are some ideas around how we can kind of try to start to move forward and heal little by little.
Okay, so let me ask you exactly directing the question.
I can't hear you, Myron.
Who are you directing the question? Who are you directing the question to?
Oh, sorry. I was looking at Gary because he's up on my screen. Okay. So, but it's to Gary or whoever. I don't mind.
Okay, well, I'll shoot my shot at it, and then I'll shut up and let someone else, because I would love to hear someone else's take on it. But the first thing that comes to mind is a saying that I've heard a bunch of times that I like to repeat. It's the mark of an intelligent person is the high capacity to adapt. The mark of an intelligent person is the high capacity to adapt. One of the issues that I think that we're having, most especially in a great deal of American society, is that so many times certain part of society wants to be a mono society, and really the fear starts to work in. And, you know, we all know fear is not in God's language, but what happens is people start to build neighborhoods. And, you know, you've heard of the redlining, you've heard the things that they're trying to do with certain neighborhoods and the real estate developers. And it makes it really difficult to have a multicultural society. Racism is based off of, you know, people just separating themselves and being separatist, and it's based off of, you know, it's like the argument that a Black person can be racist. It's like, no, racism is because there's a person that is less able to be, you know, it's being oppressed. It's less able to be financially stable. So what happens in a lot of societies, and I've been to Dublin, and I love Dublin. I was hanging out with Philomena Linet there. I was working on a project about Phil Linet.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
you would say Linet, right?
Linux, yeah.
Phil
Linux, yeah.
When
We've
we're
got
American,
strange
we say Phil
pronunciation.
Linet. No, that's the original pronunciation. So he's from there. So
Yeah.
and at that time when I was there, I guess it was the late 90s or the early 2000s, and there wasn't a lot of other ethnic groups there. Now I know that there's more Africans there, more people, more immigrants there from other countries. But at the time, you know, I was the only Black guy walking around going to the pubs. I was hanging out with Jim Sheridan, you know, and it was great. I met more writers then than ever. But it took a couple of beats, you know, for people to go, so what the fuck are you doing here? You know, and just go and open up to me and start talking.
Yeah.
You'll see that a lot in certain American neighborhoods. You'll see that in certain neighborhoods where people just, they don't know because they haven't been exposed. I think racism is less in communities and cities where people are exposed to each other.
Yeah.
They're forced to deal with each other's beauty and each other's shit. And then you'll see people start to deal with each other as human beings a lot easier, start to regard people and even groups of people because they've seen their kids playing schools with their other kids, and they've seen them fall down, and they've seen them persevere. You'll see that more often than you'll see it in very remote rural societies. And sometimes the people who are voting the most and getting more financial and mortgage power is these remote communities, you know? So I think that has a lot to do with it. And I've been traveling a lot over the last 10 years, and I see it everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I've been seeing the hyper gentrification of all of the American cities. And I see even where I was living for 20 years in Venice, California, the Silicon Valley come in and they renamed it Silicon Beach. And now it's all the artists and the different people of ethnic groups have been pushed out to the outskirts of Los Angeles, and replacing beautiful restaurants. But, you know, now there's being created sort of a mono society. And at some point, people have to start to ask, they have to begin to ask, is this what we want? And is this the best thing for a community? Or do we go into that community with the existing residents and actually help that community prosper and live and coincide with that community and learn to coexist and have a healthy, diverse community? That's the only question one needs to ask. And I think that's one of the ingredients to help cure racism. But that's just my take on it.
Agreed.
I like that question. Well, the first, can you say that about adapting? You said The quote again.
The mark of an intelligent person is the high capacity to adapt.
Okay. And so I think about the systems that we were born into. I don't think anybody here believed life would go by this fast. And as you mentioned about the communities that have had like the film, we've been struggling to be free for 400 years in this country, right? And every time we advance to some level, the system finds ways to bring us back to a place where it feels where we should be. So every generation is constantly trying to advance its community, its people to become free. And we're in this constant struggle, right? I think that, Gary, as you were talking about these other prison films, like, was that Justice, that's just out recently with—
Just Mercy?
Yes, Just Mercy, right. It's an individual story, but what makes this film, Black August, so different is that you're talking about a film that is one of the, I would say, a nightmare for America.
Yeah.
It's a story of connecting the prison system in the indoor to the out community, and building the freedom that we've been fighting for all these years. And so the systems of economics that are behind this, you know, if we become free, then there's people who believe that, oh, they can't keep making money off of these communities. And so I think that plays a big part in gender, where women are told they have to have a certain place in society. You know, now women are doing all, I mean, we have a vice president, you know, happening. We got, you know, so many men are threatened by women who are now, you know, taking jobs because, you know, when she's supposed to be in the kitchen, you know, taking care of the man, right? So that's what many people want to keep promoting. But I think that the more that, as you said, to adapt isn't not only an individual thing, but the more that our communities can adapt, the better I think we will be.
Sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's tap in with Darren, and then we talk to Sam to see exactly, you know, where, you know, their take on was on the movie, and then formally, you know, thereafter. We'll start with Darren.
Thanks. I just am sitting here thinking about. It's been a while since I watched the movie, and I'm looking at this character that I'm playing, and he's so timid, kind of like, you know, he's gonna be afraid as a go-to.
But there's a button there.
He's like finding courage.
Yes.
You know, that's the journey, right? And that's the intersection by connecting with Gary. Gary's character there, and the way Gary played him. But I did notice something else that surprised me, was even though I was like that, I could still see, I just walked around with that white privilege, like even with that sort of timidity, the way that I would walk into the safe house, I could still see it. And what was funny to me about it is I didn't think about doing that. It's just there. You just assume certain doors will open for you and things will be okay.
Well, this is a beautiful thing about his bravado, or his security, is that he's using it for a positive result. And so you can't just treat it like all white privilege is a negative thing when you're using it for a positive result, because you have the authority to walk in and actually change the situation. And one would think in our greatest incarnation to believe that the people who signed the Declaration of Independence, putting those words on it, were doing just that. When we think of America, when we think about being a true American, we want to believe that the men who wrote this Declaration of Independence, that, who's it, mailers walking around with it right now, were just astute. They had principles, they had ethics, value systems, that they walked in with the authority because they had truth and justice with them. That's the white privilege one would want to have, you know, not just the kind of attitude and false bravado like we're seeing in the current administration that is just based off of bullshit.
Totally. What I think I'm noticing just for myself is it's those things that you don't see, that you're just not aware of. So I'm kind of just trying to offer that I did see something in myself. It's like, oh yeah, I have the expectation that doors will just open for me because they have my life. And that's it's like you need those moments for people to see it in themselves, for there to be. So for me to look at the film and say, well, what can I learn from it? Like that's part of, I think, the beauty of what the film can do and how we create some change in the world. You have to be able to see, and you can't just you have to see.
I'm half agreeing with you. I do. I agree with what you're saying. I'm empathizing with what you're saying in a great degree. But I think for to start off, one thing that I really enjoyed about your character is the fire and the passion that he has, that he's getting involved in this and he wants to take it to his editor. And it's something that he is attached to because he realizes the truth in the writing and the truth of this being an American original story. And it goes to like that great conversation that that James Baldwin has with Dick Cavett. And he's talking about if you know, white guy says, give me liberty or death, you know, everyone stands behind him. But if a black man says exactly the same thing, then everyone wants to lynch him. But your character is going, I see this guy saying, give me liberty or give me death. And I support that. And this is why when you're saying about the white privilege, it doesn't exist in that way, because he is the real American. He's the reason why we would have created such a country in our greatest incarnation of the method of thinking about America, to get away from the rule, the evil imperialistic rule of England and wherever the fuck else, to create a country that this exists for all people kind of guy. Yeah. You know, you were representing that motherfucker. You know, it was like, yo, this guy is about it, you know? And I'm like, this is my dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And these cats exist, man. I'm rolling with them. They exist. And this is real talk. You know what I'm saying?
Especially
so
when
that white privilege, the attitude of white privilege is to crush under the pressure of everything that's going on socially and online and on media right now, to be nervous under that, guys, let's not lose sight of what the real issue is here.
Yeah.
It's maintaining that give me liberty or give me death. We're human beings, all of us. We're united by our humanness.
That's right.
This is what it's about. So walk in with a fucking attitude. Walk in like you own a place because you have truth by your side. That kind of vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I like that in a certain way. It feels like we're still playing our characters right now.
I heard
embodied us.
Yeah, I heard a quote recently that said that this is not a fight about racism. It's a fight of what's right and what's wrong. Yeah. And to Gary's point, yeah, definitely you were on the side of righteousness,
right?
Which is what it's about.
Yeah, it was lucky to play the part, and again, it was I was so well supported by Sam and Gary, and I have a lot of friends in this movie because we shot it here in Bay Area, local theater guys. Like I know all the guys who are playing the guards and sitting around in that first scene with drinking champagne and stuff, and shooting it was really like a dream acting job to me, because it's it seems like it'd be, because I never had the experience being on a movie where you're like making tons of money and there's flying around on jets and staying in these amazing places, but I want to be
me either.
I wanted to be like we drove up there and stayed in this prison, like my trailer was a cell, and stayed in Applebee's and like made this movie. And to me, that's like a dream actor scenario, because it felt like we were rolling up our sleeves and really making something happen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It felt
Yeah.
super real in that way, and to be able to have this character dynamic, and to have a character relationship that go through something, and to that's what really connected me to the story, and
Yeah,
and I'm
me
super
too.
grateful to get to do that.
Darren, who did now when you were playing David?
Yeah.
What did you, like how did you feel about that? Like what kind of ways did it open up to you, like into this struggle?
Yeah, I did, the research too. I found, what is it? The Dragon Has Come, like another book that I think was actually written by David Dry or something like that. And
Okay.
I felt incredibly welcomed into I grew up in the Bay Area and lived in Berkeley and Oakland for a long time, but I felt welcomed into, a Black culture like I'd never been before, as part of this whole movie experience. And that was actually amazing, because it's any story where people get to kind of come together who don't normally come together is incredible. That's what this was. So but otherwise, really, mostly a lot, I was kind of just in that place where I was letting myself absorb everything like it was fresh, and make it real with the people that were right in front of me.
It showed.
That's how I found it.
What? My nephew, IJ, who's a budding editor and et cetera, he's worked with us on a few projects. He's about to ask a question. I'm going to ask him to unmute himself so he can ask the question that he just typed into the chat.
It wasn't a question, but it was just like a statement. But I wanted to just point out, amongst what you, Gary, and what you, Darren, were talking in regards to your character's duality, particularly with how Darren, your character was able to go ahead and get the paper and notes back once the guards had took that. And that's kind of how, for example, the more of the struggle African Americans and Black people have to go through in regards to the system, because whenever something happens in that capacity of being mistreated and that injustice, there usually is no way to fight back against it without having to face some form of violence or repercussion for it. But instead, when you have that white privilege, or that privilege to go ahead and know that you're going to be able to fight for the rightful path, or the rightful, direction with very little resistance, you're able to see the results. And I felt like that kind of helped with the film itself to kind of show the duality of the reason why the fight was so important, was because there was a silence that was trying to be put down onto the whole community and the whole movement of trying to get justice done. So I just wanted to kind of like continue to emphasize on that as well.
Yes.
Very much.
Yes. Thank you.
That's kind
All facts. All facts.
There was a scene for
And
that.
still happening, and still consistently being snuffed out, But now we have cell phones with cameras, so it's a little slightly easier to get the word out, but people are still getting off, and injustices are still being blatantly, constituted on people daily, and even with it on camera. So imagine back then there was no cell phones.
That's right.
Well, the place I see us winning is that we have the ability to distribute information at a very rapid rate. It's very expeditious. And so we didn't have that. Used to have to send something through a dog, a pigeon, or whatever, right? And so, now a quick text and a quick, chats or tweets or whatever. Now I won't even say tweets, because I don't even support people that support that particular platform of someone who's in office, so to speak. Let's speak of all the various options that are out there right now that allow us to just instantly share information. And it allows youth to participate in mass protests, flash mobs that do really good protests that are definitely, very innovative from a youthful standpoint. So getting out the information and having these platforms on a regular, quarterly, bi-quarterly, however you want to do it. But meshing all these components that help complete the narrative and push for the agenda that you guys set for when you started this film.
Hmm. Sam, you want to take it?
I'm just listening.
No.
I mean, it's just amazing to again see it again and you learn something, like wow, the day is actually his anniversary. I mean, it's where you're at, it's 22nd now, but the anniversary of his death, and just filming that, man, I just wanted to make sure that the honesty stayed there, man. You guys kept that script right on point, but I'm just here as I feel like I'm just a fan right now, man, just enjoying the dialogue, and I'm just having an out of body experience right now. This is just a great situation.
Well,
really,
it's a timeless film.
It's a timeless film, man. I mean, we're still dealing with the same thing, man. These inmates right now are still dealing with the same situations of not being able to get their stories told, being
This was shot on film, wasn't it?
Yeah, 35.
16, 35?
35, yeah, 35 millimeter. We went through 117 rolls.
2007, we didn't have Instagram then, did we?
No, we didn't.
Far from that.
No, man.
No, it's a
we had to calculate each, we couldn't just, do hella takes. We had to calculate everything because we had the footage. We had a certain amount of footage we don't shoot, so
right.
We had to be very disciplined, but we got it,
Fuck yeah, we got it. I mean, I'm watching it twice tonight because I saw it before.
Right.
Because I wasn't sure of the time difference, so I said, let me just refresh myself because I'm not sure if I can watch it with everyone.
Right.
And wow, man, I got emotional twice.
Yeah.
Seriously emotional. Like there's some magnificent performances, but there's also just his writing is just
man,
superfluous, man. And just the story itself being so real and so heartbreaking, but being so plentiful with these stories, man. They just keep happening,
There it is.
Yeah.
That's it. It is. Wow. We
have right now. It's a great time for this film to continue to get out. So
right.
I hope there's a plan underway to kind of,
Is there any questions? Any other questions out there?
Yeah, I wanted to get Oliver Sims to just say a few words before I know he's pretty busy, man. Can he speak on being a producer of this film and how he feels now after seeing it after all these years?
All right, what's going on, David?
What's up, Oliver, man? All right.
Oliver, what's happening, man?
What's going on, dude?
What's up?
So I didn't produce this all the way through. Sam came to me with the vision and the budget, and I said, no, thank you. And like, you got what money? You trying to do what? I said, no, thank you. So then I went back home, and my wife was like, Sam, getting ready to do a movie, and you guys doing all these commercials and music videos, and you're not going to do a movie with them? You better get back on that set.
That's right.
So what I did is end up asking them to come on set as a PA. So during that situation, I was just a PA, just watching everything, soaking up everything. The jail thing, he was in there for a long time, but they don't say, what they haven't said is nightfall came. It became dark.
Yes.
There's no electricity in that area.
That's right.
It was crazy. I was fearful, and I was on the outside. I know he had his zone. So yeah, so then the ran out of money at one point.
Yeah.
And so it was ghost for one point. I think Leroy, one of the actors, ran into somebody at Warner Brothers, and they said, we heard about this film, we want to make it happen.
Wow.
Like, we don't have a film. We almost have a film, but we don't have a film.
Right.
And so they got a budget to make it happen. Then they called me on to kind of finish it out.
That's
At that point, I came We reshot some stuff. Gary came up to my boys' soundstage.
Soundstage, yeah.
And we just made it happen. And it connected. You can't tell which is which. And I think it's amazing how he's still able to get that to that place again. Because a lot of that passion wasn't even was in a little wood area. It wasn't in the jail, but you have that same passion. So it was amazing for me to be a part of this project. Really proud of Sam making it happen. Proud of the whole team making it happen. So it's huge. It's huge. And just looking at it again, seeing the production value and just, how we made stuff happen. So, it was a blessing for me to be part of that project.
Yeah. We left it all on the.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Sam's.
Right on. Well, I know it's late. You're in. I don't know what time it is where you are. What's the time? You're in Paris, or what time is it there?
Bro, it's early. I just put it like that.
Okay. Well, I don't. Well, if there's any more questions.
Yeah.
Well, I'm awake now. The sun is up now, bro. It's 7 a.m.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Good.
I want to give a shout out. I see my dad in the house.
Oh, okay.
I see you. Go ahead, wave. Give me a thumbs up, Pops. Where you at, Pops? There you go. Yeah, it's my dad. I see my cousin. Where you at? I see Coach Mo. I see my cousin James. Who else in there? Akbar, Ariel. I see you. My big cousin VV. Where you at? VV, you better ask a question.
Well,
you better say, this is your moment, Lord.
We have the brother James Burnett who wants to ask a question.
My big cousin.
James, you want to unmute yourself, sir?
Unmute your mic, sir.
Yeah, there you go. Uh-oh, we're not hearing anything, brother.
Got a wife. We can hear wifey.
Well, that's okay. This is Vivi.
Hey, VV.
My computer doesn't have a camera, but trust me, I'm beautiful. Gary, I'm a fan of your work, all of your work, and especially in this movie. Sam is my cousin. We are blood from head to toe.
Awesome.
And
What's up, family?
what I wanted to know is, I saw how deep you got into character, and you expressed very eloquently how what the process was for you to get into that deep space to play that part. How long did it take you to come back to Gary? Is what I'd like to know.
I'm not positive of the time period because the thing with when you're working and you're in deep and you're it's like the instrument is like a muscle, so you kind of you remember things, you remember the pages and you work on the pages, but then the next day you're on to something else. So everything that you did the day before, it's just gone. Usually that's what happens with me. I mean, that doesn't happen with everyone, but it happens a lot with me, and because I'm on to the next beat of material. But what helped me a lot with George Jackson was just going deep and collecting all of the material of him speaking, his speaking voice and his cadence, the photos, any video footage, just anything that I could grab onto so that I can help emulate him as best I could. Because I kind of came from that school of thought where it's there's certain people who don't like to do that. They like to do it their own way and give their own interpretation of a historical figure that they're playing. But I really enjoy the people who actually spend the time to give you as close as possible. That's why I really enjoy people like Jamie Foxx, because he does that, or like with Ray or something like that. He just goes really deep, and I really appreciate De Niro or Sam Jackson just to go deep and really portray someone. So I was trying to do my best to actually do the work, and it feels good when you're there because it's easier to get into the moment. And I know that Darren can probably say the same. It's just, you could see it in his work because the way he's reacting, he's playing the moment, and he's fresh there. He's present, and he's aware because he's listening. And that's the most important thing, is to actually be listening. It's not just to be saying some lines because they sound cool, but to be actually listening to who you're talking to, so that it's really genuine. But to be honest with you, the next day, I'd have to lose it all and just concentrate on what was there.
It got to a point for me when as I was observing the development of what you were bringing to the table, the presentations, it got to a point where, you know, I remember, I think it was a game that Jordan was in, and he got to a point where he was in the zone, and the team just didn't even touch him. You know what I mean? It got to a point when you get into that zone, you just don't, I don't know. I don't know. It's something about players don't even talk. You know what I mean? So it got to a point where you was like in that zone. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? I'm not even going to do your thing. You know what I mean? Actually had to do your thing type situation. You know, I mean, even though hit your mark, you know, we put another lens on you know, the mechanics of it. But as far as direction, it got to a point where it's like George had arrived, and I am now just making sure.
In the beginning of the movie, I saw Gary Dordan, because you have a particular look that is attractive everywhere you go. By the end of the movie, I saw George Jackson.
Right.
I saw the character you were playing. I didn't see you anymore. That's why I asked, how long did it take for you to get back to you? Because I saw who you became.
Right. Right.
Well,
that's exactly what happened.
There was a place that there's so much of George Jackson's story that was really tough to be in, that when I told you that I had to go back to Los Angeles and get back into the work that I was doing there, I literally had to really cut it off and just completely immerse myself in what I was doing and stay in the moment of what I was doing, like the next day, and just like not watch anything of what I was doing before, and just completely cut myself off. Because we're talking, I had to go back to the hotel room every night and wash myself with a cantaloupe to take off the spiritual energy that I was collecting in the prison cells, and do certain things to maintain my, you know, my centeredness a bit about who I was, because there was so much of this. It's so horrific what someone has to deal with being in solitary confinement, or dealing with violence every day with prison guards, with other inmates, with that kind of energy, that it can fuck you up, honestly. And I had to cut it off.
Tell me, how did the weight of those chains feel?
They was real. They were real chains, you know. At some point I was asking him, because the first couple of times they put them on and they were just kind of movie putting them on so I can kind of get out of them. I said, no, put these motherfuckers on, because, you know, the whole plastic element of it is not really working for me to actually, you know, to feel the actual pain of to have somebody really, you know, smack you or hit you or push up against you or tighten the chain too much on your wrist or your ankle is what you have to contend with, what you have to deal with to actually, you know, so you can push past it. Because, man, there's too much people surfing out there, you know. I got time for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, thank you for answering my question. I'll see you on Instagram.
I hope I did.
You did.
Right.
I'm following you on Instagram. Have for a while.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I'll send you a shout out.
Now, good question, Gary. I remember when I first got this, I watched it a bunch of times because it's you know, it's this climactic emotional moment in the movie, but it was also just like, technically I was just amazed at how you died. like, how did you do that so well? The whole thing of like how did you do that? How do you know how to do that?
Do what? Do
Like,
what? When we get
You
shot?
hit the ground like you really died.
yeah, your death
Oh.
scene was fucking crazy.
You know how you do that? You have to die wrong in the film, and then you know how to die right. You know, when you see yourself die like shit in the film, you go, "I'll never do that shit again." You know what I mean? And then you watch a couple other films, and some guys really get it right, and you go, "Yeah, man, you got to get it right. You got to go all in. You know, you got to get fucked up a little bit. Honestly, you have to. That's the human element of it. Is the beauty of falling, you know. And then watch Charles Lloyd or Charlie Chaplin a couple times as well. But
Right.
it's important for me now after making some mistakes to, you know, it's like jazz. If you hit a wrong note, just hit it again, and it's right.
Right.
You know, just fuck up a time in film, and then you look at it and you go, that looked like shit. I'm embarrassed. And the next thing you get the opportunity, if you can get the opportunity, you want to get it right.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You know, you're a theater actor. You know, you have to.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
know, man. You got to commit, man. You got to commit. You got to
You
commit,
gotta
man.
go all out. It's gonna hurt, but you know
That's
what?
right.
Film is forever.
Yeah, man. Okay.
I think that Darren, when you awaited for him to after his brother was murdered, after Jonathan was murdered, and he said to you that he hadn't shed a tear.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole body language was speaking volumes, and then also the handshake that you guys had was like, we all knew that was the last time you were going to see each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And you knew that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so there were some things that you didn't say that were very subtle that really told the story. So it was really a great job.
Yeah. Well, it's like Gary said. That's when Gary does it all over the place. I mean, it's just listening. You have the confidence to just listen, and of course you need something to listen to. So.
Right. Well, sometimes you are listening to that, you know, that thing that's not even being spoken, but you can pick up on it if you're listening, and that's what you were doing.
Yeah, you listen.
And you helped me a lot. You know, you helped me a lot with that because you were picking up on things that weren't necessarily in the text.
Right.
But they were, you know, you had done your backstory work and you had done the forward story work and you knew where you were, and it helped me get to where I needed to be, you know, and stay in that place, stay in that centered place. And I think what he just mentioned was one of those places, because it could have been just like another day of work. We're just saying a couple of lines just to make the day go by. But, you know, you were really pulling it out. Thank you for keeping me there.
Yeah, thank you,
I
man.
couldn't have asked for a better partner in this, man. Fantastic.
That's the thing. That's what was so cool about it, because we were there every take. You were there every take for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't like just say, well, you know, he can do it with the tennis ball or somebody else. Every single take. And also,
I'm gonna put my lines on your face if you don't mind. I'm gonna take my lines.
You're right.
On your face right here. Okay. Well, you gonna roll?
Yeah. Hey, I also was really reminded of how so many beautiful shots in the film, Sam.
Wow.
You know, so many beautiful shots. That shot with Jonathan, like going into and getting himself ready, and then going into like that beautiful tracking shot. I remember talking to you about that, and there was just in that scene you were just talking about, going to wait for Gary. Like that was beautiful. So many really nice shots.
Yeah, myself and Kev Robertson, man, my DP, man, we designed the whole thing, man. We had to keep the camera at eye level. We wanted to make sure that you know, those that are viewing it, you know, felt like they was in the cell too. You know, so you know, we had to, you know, pull it off. You know, so that was one of the strategies with that. You know, is making sure where that lens is at. You know. You want to get out that cell. You wish you weren't there, you know, but you can't until the film is over. You know what I mean? You gotta stay with the whole story, you know. So that was our approach.
That was really well done.
Yeah,
beautiful.
A lot of the band scene with there were a lot of good moments in there that you chose.
And it was really hard to discern what
Mhm.
was from the historical docs and what was
Right.
from the film. At a certain
Right.
point, there was a blurred line where I'm watching the yellow van stuff, and I'm like, is that actual video footage that they have?
Right. Right.
How did they do that? How was he able to get the rights? And I'm watching it, and it's just seamless merge, man.
Yeah. Well, like you said, man, that research, thank God, that George left us the script. He left us, the blueprint. We just have to make sure that we, did our part, because he did his part to his death. So it was our job to make sure that, we presented it in a way to where you can understand his writings and understand what he meant, and humanize them. That's another thing about inmates. They're not humanized. They're just, they're in there and they're there for what they're there for. And let's just forget about them if we can, and George did not allow that to happen, So that was another thing that I, took upon myself, is to make sure that, I did his story, the best I could, for not to actually hear from him. That was another part of it, man. This man he was not here, so to tell someone's story and not, sit down with them and ask them, is this okay? Do you want this in? Do you, what I mean? That wasn't the case. We didn't have that privilege, so we had to go from his pages, and that was a trip.
I have one more question. When this movie came out, I had to search for it. Sam knows I had to go to Berkeley to this tiny little bookstore, and I had to seek out a copy of this movie. And so it's been several years since I've seen it. But watching it again tonight reminded me that the fabulous Lonetta McKee was in it.
Yes.
What was it like working with her?
Oh, man. I know that
royalty.
I remember when she gave me a hug, like it felt warm, it felt safe. She made me understand that, my position and her position, and how to, like, stand on my square and do my job. You know what I mean? She really just gave me that security in what I was doing. Cause I'm like, damn, you're Anna McGee. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? That's what happened to me, but she made me feel secure and safe in my position, and gave me, the, permission to direct the film. I got my permission from her to direct the film.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's deep.
That's what's up. Yeah, royalty right there.
Yeah. Yeah, she was the mama of the set.
Yeah.
Man, I wish she was here to tell us about it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too.
Brother Gary, for you to be able to pull that off the way you did, man, like you said, with no, like Brother Sam said, without any direct, contact with, the person himself, and for you to transform yourself from Gary to George, it was just amazing to see it, and to see it together is just amazing as well. And seeing you here is, like I said, we definitely appreciate your presence. And,
thank you.
Thank you. Any foot in Oakland is definitely going to always be, big.
Man.
Yeah.
I love it up there, man. I can't wait to be back.
Right on.
Yeah, man. I was up there not that long ago, maybe a year or so ago.
Yeah, you did a gig up here downtown. Remember, I came and saw you.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's right. Yeah, you were gigging downtown Oakland.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
man.
That's right.
We're getting you back out here.
I know. So let's make it happen. We'll figure out something.
By all means, definitely we'll definitely find a platform.
I'll make some gumbo.
Okay,
now we're
there you go.
Bro, I'm gonna hold you to that, V.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, she will. It's good.
Oh wow.
Now, that's Sam's blood. So
that's right.
Follow up.
That's Desire Projects right there. That's New Orleans right there.
That's what's up. Please do that. I'm there.
Oh man, yes indeed. Yes, indeed.
Hey, Ma. Hey, Mary. How you doing? Love you.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody. I want to just take a moment for Brother George Jackson on this day, on this day of the 21st of August. Also, the 21st of August, 1791 was the beginning of the Haitian Revolution. So, Toussaint Louverture. August 21st, we have the 1850, the Fugitive Slave Law, where the slaves who were freed, Frederick Douglass convened a convention on August the 21st to fight against that from the U.S. Congress during that time. And so we're so honored that we're standing on the shoulders of so many before us who have made a way for us to be here this evening. And so I want to thank you all from the Oakland International Film Festival for having me, Myron Potier with Oakland Royal, Mr. Sam Stiles, Gary, Durbin, and Darren for joining us, Oliver Sims, Wright, and everyone else for coming on board with us this evening. It's been a real blessing, and I just want to say, Sam, you want to just say a last word, just to that's my word, but I just want you to just say one more last word for everybody.
Yeah, I'm just grateful for everybody that showed up. Coach Mo, I see you. Akbar, I see you. Ariel, I see you. Angel, I see you. Thank you all for coming through. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Gary. Gary, you're my dude. You know that.
Let's link, man.
It's a great film. Mom, Dad, I see you. It's a great film, and I just am grateful to have have that as being used to make that film, man. I feel like, that was an assignment. I was telling Gary earlier, I was like, that was our assignment, man. We stood to our assignment when it came to the revolution and speaking about the situations that's going on with the community. This brother, George, man, when you read his book, you read his words, it goes so much deeper than this right here. When you read his words, you can't help but to, feel a certain way, so, I'm just grateful and thankful that we got it done, that you were able to see it. It's still being able to be seen, and so I'm just grateful. Thank you so much for all showing up.
I am grateful as well. Yes.
Yeah. Good job, folks.
Thank you all so much. This is big. I mean, in so many different ways. The idea to me and Sam have been working with David Roach throughout the film festival. It's his 18th annual this year. Keep
it going.
I've had the luxury working in the on the campaign for the last 8 years directly, but knowing David for the last 25 years or so. And us being able to, Sam, man, what's up with the Black August movie? Reaching out to Gary, them reaching out to Darren. I'm sure they were caught up with Brother O. Sims. I mean, it is so big, and just to be able to grab these platforms and utilize them to, create the narrative and generate new upcoming, and that's the thing, up and new coming generations that have the skills and the youth that know how to spread information quickly. And so as long as we can tap into those youth and connecting with what we know as future ancestors, let's definitely stick to the education and re-education of what we know to be true.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just let me end by saying that, it was kind of apparent that I think there was some forces trying to maybe bury the film, not have it be seen. But this is a great opportunity with this new generation to actually, to turn the table on that. So this is a great opportunity for people with this new generation, with all of these newfound information that they have and resources to their disposal to actually watch this film now. You know, film is forever, so that's a great thing you did, Sam. It's there in the chronicles, my dude.
Yes,
so
sir.
It, man. So organize
Yes,
the
sir.
screening. Put some outdoor screenings out there. They're doing outdoor theaters, you know. Let these kids see this, man. That's what's up.
Yes, sir. Right on, man.
We'll do more, by all means.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You know I got you, bro.
Big, man.
People need to know this story, man.
Yeah.
And the writings. I mean, I'm not even, you know.
Absolutely. They need to buy all his books.
Yeah. Blood in My Eyes, his other book.
Yep.
Please get that one.
Okay. If anybody wants to paste any information in the chat, please feel free to. We will archive and record and follow up with everyone. And we really appreciate everybody's time and attention to this. Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Any
you.
last questions? Anybody? Everybody? This is it. Any questions?
Get them out while we're riding.
Oh, questions?
Jeanette.
All right.
I got a question, Gary. What's your number in Paris, boy? Wink, wink, wink.
I thought you were gonna ask me my address so you can send me some frozen.
Oh no, I can find you. I can find you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna send me a FedEx package of some gumbo.
Okay, y'all. I gotta say go. I love you now, and I love you later.
All right.
Thank you, cousin.
Okay, everybody.
Love you guys. Everything was great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ma. Thank you, Dad. Appreciate
Love
it.
you.
Thank you, Mom.
Love you too.
I'm coming for the gumbo,
That's right.
and I'll be there.
That's
Just
right. You know
let us know what date and time.
I know that's right.
And how do we really get this film in the theater?
That's true. That's a good question.
I would like to know that as the mother.
That's a good question.
That is a great question.
Hello.
I'll
get back to you on that one.
Right, These days it's hard.
That's
Find
right.
a theater
Yeah,
that's open. I think that's a good start.
Drive-in theater. We could do it COVID style. Outdoor.
Yeah.
Do it.
A drive-in style, Auntie Mary.
Patients is looking for things to do, and if there's any COVID, you know, social distancing options that are available, trust me, we have the time and attention to give them.
Copy that.
I am real serious about it, and I think that it's been a long time coming. And since we're here already, we might as well find a way to make it produce itself.
Yes. You're right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Word of mouth. Word of
That's
mouth,
right.
Mom.
All right.
All right,
Word of
y'all.
mouth.
I'm leaving.
Okay.
Don't cry because I'm gone. I'm gone though.
Ooh, man, this is big for my Friday night. This is the best thing going out to me, y'all. I'm not sure about y'all, but yes, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Good
Wifey's here.
Good night. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
All right, guys.
All right.
All right.
Blessings, guys.
All right.
All right, Gary.
We'll
you
keep
take
in
care.
touch, yeah.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate you, man. Love you guys.
You too. You too. So much
So
fun.
Darren, yeah, man.
All right, Darren.
Hit me up on IG, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So good to see you, Gary.
Send me your
Good to
tag.
see you,
All right?
daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
You guys.
Sam, it's good to see your wife.
Yeah.
Tell her I said hello.
All right.
All right, y'all. Peace.
All right, man. Take it easy, brother.
All right, Myron. I'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay,
You
yeah.
gotta call me because I can't call out.
Y'all have a fun.
Right. Oh,
All right.
man, this is beautiful. Take care, y'all. Love y'all. Take care.
All right now. Thanks.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.